it to put up so that you guys can see the description of the project. So I'm going to go through that. So if you look in your Google Classroom, you're going to see that I put up 3 things today. One is titled Friday, April 9th, and that's your biodiversity quiz. This is your kind of official assignment for today. And then there are 2 more things. So let's take a look at the official assignment for today. And that says that we've got 3 things that we are going to work on. So we're going to discuss the upcoming project on biodiversity, and we're going to do that pretty quickly. I'm going to go through that with you, and I am going to record that so you can go back and reference it. We're also going to take a biodiversity quiz. Make sure that you don't take off because you decide you're not interested in listening to the information about the project and miss taking the quiz, and don't work on the quiz while we're talking about the project, please. And then with any remaining time in class, you need to work on any assignments from this week that you have not finished. And so there are several of those that are still outstanding. They are still needing to be done. So I'd like for you to work on those. At this point in time, we really don't have more class time for this. So you need, like, if you've not gotten it done in class this week, you're going to have to get that done on your own time. Okay, so here we go with talking about the upcoming project. So you will find that you have 2 more documents that look basically like what we saw for our just overall project that I put up earlier. Now, or for our overall unit. This is specific to the project. This is specific to the project that you guys are going to be working on. And so I told you all that there would be a summative project for this, and that this past week was mostly doing groundwork types of things in order to get you prepared to do this next part. So here we go. We're going to look at our project outline. Here are our standards, LS24 and LS25. So we're going to construct an argument supported by empirical evidence that changes to physical or biological components of an ecosystem affect the populations within that ecosystem. And then we're also going to evaluate competing design solutions for maintaining biodiversity and ecosystem services. And so what we're trying to do here is put both of these things together into one project. All right, and so we'll take a look at how to do that. So your expectations for the preparatory assignments is that you have them done. The one that you might be able to kind of not do, if you're going to have to leave one out, is let's see, it's the what is a conservationist. It will be helpful to you to understand what a conservationist does as you go through this, but if you don't do that one, that's probably one of the more interesting parts of it. But if you don't do that, you probably can still do the rest of this assignment. I'd rather you not leave any of them out, though. All of the pieces and parts should be done. Okay, so here's our overall outline. So just like I talked to you about on, I think, Tuesday of this week in class, you are going to be able to do some choice about what you want to do for this project. You just have to make sure that you include the requirements within your overall project. So you could write a letter to the editor of a newspaper or magazine. You could create a print or a video advertisement. You could create a short documentary. You could create a poster presentation, or you can come up with something completely and totally on your own that might be more interesting to you. If you come up with something on your own, then you need to talk to me about it and make sure that it looks like you're going to be able to get all of the pieces and parts in there. And then, I might give you some suggestions, but I mean, if you've got a really good idea, let's see if it'll work. What are you going to put in here? Well, when we're talking about constructing an argument, usually what we're talking about in science is doing some kind of claim evidence reasoning, because that's just an easy format for us to use as a scientific community. So we're going to basically use that claim evidence reasoning. So we're going to kind of have to manipulate things a little bit, massage them just a bit in order to get them into this claim evidence reasoning format. But I think that we'll be fine with that. So we're going to do our claim. That's the thing that we'll start with. That is the basis of our argument. So that would be taking a look at the LS2-4, construct an argument based on evidence. Okay, so within this claim, you will identify your threatened or endangered species, and we'll give you a list of those that you can work from. And you will identify and describe the physical and or biological components of the ecosystem where your species is living that are threatening your species. So what within that ecosystem, what within the ecosystem of your species is not helping it to thrive. Okay. Then you're going to take a look at your evidence. You're going to present some evidence because a claim with no evidence, it's just an opinion. And we don't really work very well with opinions within science. Probably shouldn't overall, but certainly not within science. So data needs to be included that shows that your species is threatened or endangered. And we will help you with that. We'll give you some listing and some places where you can go to see that. And it'll basically be, well, before this threat came into existence, this was the species population. Now that the threat exists, this is the species population. So we can see that either this is a threatened species, so it's not looking really good, or it is completely an endangered species and it's expected without intervention to go extinct. And we generally don't want that to happen. Okay. You're going to work with some data or some scientific explanation that will support which physical and or biological components of your ecosystem are the things that are threatening your species. Okay. Then we're going to work within the reasoning part. And really for the reasoning part, this is where we bring in the second part of your standards. So we're going to look at the LS2-5 at this point. And as we do that, we're going to talk about, you're going to put some information in. So you're going to talk about the importance of biodiversity. So you're going to show that you understand that and you'll be convincing your audience of that. And you're also going to talk about the ecosystem services that your species provides. You're going to make sure that you understand what those are and what your species does. Then you'll have to do a little bit of research to see, well, what are two possible things that people are going to do or could do in order to save this species, in order to reverse this threat. And you're going to evaluate those. Now, I understand that you're not ecologists, and so like this isn't a really deep, high-level evaluation, but you have information. You have enough information from the work that we've done this past week that you can do a pretty good job of at least coming up with a couple of things about each design solution that might let you at least talk about the pros and cons, or here's something that's a strength, here's something that's a weakness as you go through here. Then, because you are informed, you will discuss some, like, what's the best choice. So you're going to make an informed judgment here. You're going to identify which is the best choice. And then you're going to talk about why you made that choice. Okay? So those are the pieces and parts that you will include in your project. And down here at the bottom is the grading. The grading goes from a 5 to a 0. For a 5 and a 4, it's pretty close to the same, except that a 5 is just going above and beyond. Like it is, you've met all of this and you've included extra stuff. So yay, you have done an excellent job. For both of these, you could have some minor errors that really don't make a significant difference. So we're not looking for perfection, we're looking for mastery. And so for 3, this is developing mastery, or sorry, this is approaching mastery. You have everything included, but you've got some minor errors that kind of affect the overall argument. And it might be like, well, you know what? You're really, really close, but you have this misunderstanding. And so we need to fix that in order for you to get all the way to mastery. 2 and below starts to include some other information that is important. these are the places where you have a this or that can give you the score. So for a 2, you've got pretty much everything in there. You might have something left out. You got pretty much everything in there, but it's clear that you don't quite understand what's going on. You're developing that understanding, but it's not a complete understanding yet. Or you just don't get to the project. You get the organizer done, but you just can't quite put it all together into the actual project where you have a good, solid argument. You've got good evaluations. You've got all of those pieces. You just haven't put it all together. A 1, you're trying, but you're just not getting very far. So you've got like serious errors, and when I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, we got to do some work here to go back and make sure that the student understands biodiversity. Or you've worked on your organizer, you're not completely done with it, you've got some errors, you got some pieces missing. Okay. And then a 0 would be you tried. You don't quite know what is going on, but you tried. Okay. So this is all that you need to have within your project. I want to show you this very quickly. You have a link to this in your within your overall topic. So it's all right there in the classwork. Let me go over here and show you this. So if you look in your biodiversity unit, it's right here. So there's your quiz. Here's your organizer. Here's your project guidelines. Okay, so let's take a look at this organizer. This needs to be turned in, and I think that's stated in here. This needs to be turned in next Friday when you have your whole project turned in. If you remember that we gave you the timeline already for that when we talked about this earlier in the week, and we looked at the overall project timeline. Next Friday is when everything should be done. So this week was gathering the information. Next week is doing the stuff. And so on here, this is not your project. This is the organizer for your project. Okay. And so you can use this organizer to put in all of your information. I put little boxes over here where you can check off that you've got that done. Or you can make some kind of a note here to yourself. Oh, I probably need to, pick up this particular part, or, like you can make a note to yourself here. On this side, this is where you're going to put your information. It's gonna go on over to here. At the end of it, I put your grading in so that you can take a look at your rubric. Okay, so I think that goes through your project reasonably well. And I forgot to go back here. So here is your project. This is the organizer. Sorry about that. Over here on this side, you can check off what you need to. Over here on this side, you can put in all of your information. I did give you an extra line in these so that if you need some extra space, you can. If you want to include something else, this is going to keep on going down through here. You'll have multiple pages for this. That's perfectly fine. And I did include your grading rubric so that you can see this. All right. This is due, like I said, this is due with your project. This is due with your project next week. All right. This is due with your project next week. Okay.